it's very hard to find the truth. When you watch the media, they never tell you the truth. The name of the game in real estate and business of real estate is to buy and build wealth as soon as possible. We're in the most beautiful country on the planet. Our destiny is in our own hands. So the future looks bright. I dug into it like you are, study every single thing. And then I found that these 5 variables that controls everything. So if you know the 5 variables, you don't need to listen to me to give you predictions.
I've come all the way down to Christchurch and taken over Nathan Najib's real estate agency today. It is a pleasure to be sitting here with you, mate. A couple of fellow YouTube posters. I've called you the Cantabrian Contrarian because from what I see outside looking in from all the way up in the 09, you're pretty happy to tell it how it is with the state of the property market, which is a little bit rare in your industry.
I like things that look like we had conversations just having off camera. It's very hard to find the truth. When you watch the media, they never tell you the truth. And it's like people are confused. And the best thing, people like you, thanks to this podcast, were, right? If you listen to people long enough, you know if they're telling you the truth or not. So we keep on telling the truth. We call it real talk for a reason. And I feel like people coming to us because that's only they're going to hear the truth, nothing but the truth.
We'll get into some of your property predictions as we go. But do you get any blowback within the industry for kind of being a bit of an outlier where you are happy to say, hey, we're not at the bottom yet, this is how a cycle works, rather than just kind of the, now's a great time, like get on the ladder, the faster the better?
Yeah, that's so mentality, right? That's how this thing called, I'm a capitalist myself, but the capitalism society has worked, right? It's like me making money, all the money, and that's it. And I get a lot of blowback, but I just say we just tell the truth. That's what all we say. And if you don't like it, then watch us again in 12 months' time. Then you'll find out who was telling the truth, right? And we've had comments from people like real aggressively that we're trying to get more listings, perhaps because we're telling people we haven't hit the bottom or whatever. And that was like when we were telling when it was the peak of the market, right? Or we just come off the peak. But I feel like truth will set you free. Yeah. And we're going to keep on telling that.
Good on you. Well, the market's obviously responding because you've got a team here, close to 20, I believe, from when I had a quick walk around before. Now, 97% of businesses in New Zealand have less than 20 staff. So you're nearly at that top 3% when you start looking at, and you're leaning into videography, content. So you couldn't hire and have that many people in an environment like that if the truth wasn't real, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's short-term gain or long-term. I've done it from the start of my career 20-something years ago when I got into real estate. And it serves me well, Luke, and we keep on telling it how it is, man. It works good.
So just on that, how long have you been in real estate for?
I started 2007, late 2007. I was 18. I got my license, and I would have hit the ground about 2008, and that was a GFC, right?
Yeah.
Just coming off the peak, everybody was selling, and then boom. But I didn't know any better. And the hard yards that I put in back then, I was just a solo agent. It paid off, and from get-go, and thanks to my father, he's always taught me that, hey, integrity is very important. And in fact, back in the days when I was on a little kid, he says, I passed on the last name to you with very high respect. You want to make sure you pass it on to your kids like I passed it on to you. So I've got this torch, and I want to make sure I protect it by telling the truth and always.
Nice. That's powerful. On the flight on the way down here, I was talking to a lady and she was telling me about her divorce and how much pain she was in at the time, but actually how she wouldn't be the person that she is today if it wasn't for that. And I think when you do enough self-development and go through a journey long enough, it's very easy to see that. But I think there'll be a lot of people right now that are doing it tough, no matter if it's in their employment, maybe their property's gone backwards in value, maybe they're in that early stage of business. what would you tell them right now with how important it is to keep going, and how going through the pain can actually be so rewarding for us, and we do get rewarded for it in the future?
Yeah, adversity is really what creates us, because, you would have heard of people that were like, money was passed on to them and they just blow it, right? And if you go through adversity, that will create you. Like, nothing worthwhile is created overnight, right? Like diamond, right? You need to go underground so much to be able to get a piece of diamond. And in anything, like I said, anything worthwhile, worth pushing through, working hard for. So hard times don't last. That's what I got to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So 2008, you're in the depths of the GFC, you're starting to sell property. I read that in 2016, you start your own practice, if we're to use that term, or agency. How hard was that, again, to go through another trough of like, now I've got to start from the ground again?
Yeah. Thankfully, it looked like I was still work with integrity, and I'd built that my own business, we called it EBU, Effective Business Unit, within another company. And people that came with me, because usually, people don't work for the company. They didn't go work. So would you within real estate, anyways. They don't so with you because you work for XX company. They will go with you because of who you are. So thankfully, the people that I worked with in the past for 10 years, 19 years, where I was, majority of 99% of them came across. And building a business. So I'll tell you, I talk to some of my friends and people here that, like, if I knew how hard this goddamn thing is, building a business, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. It's certainly not as easy as probably Instagram and the YouTubes and stuff, reveal, right? Like, I think people watch social content and assume that that's the glamorous output, but don't realize that's actually business owners doing something to grow and taking even more risk. How long is this going to take to see something coming back the other way? And not everybody is cut out for it. And I guess that probably, in my view, probably leads us to what has encouraged so many people to believe that property is their way forward in New Zealand, because it's a lot easier than building something from scratch. And if we, don't have to work hard to do it, maybe the Reserve Bank help us create it on paper for us, or property values drift up over time, then that seems like a foolproof and easy strategy. But over this last few years, it seems like we've had a realization, it doesn't always go like that. So what have you been educating people about in regards to house prices that might be contrarian or an outlier to what they're hearing in the general media or the rest of the country?
Yeah. So real estate is a great business. I'm a real estate guy. I've built what I have with real estate. So I think real estate is a great business to get into. Not just selling real estate, but investing in real estate. That's what most us Kiwis build our wealth on, really, right? So real estate is still great wealth created to get into. One of the things that I always said, and you say a contrarian kind of view, is watch out who you buy from when you buy it, because the name of the game in real estate and business of real estate is to buy and build wealth as soon as possible. And if you're buying in the peak, you got to go through a trough, and you might not be able to hold on to your real estate through the trough, right? So it is 10-year cycle, but depend where you buy it in the cycle. Trying to, it's very hard to time it exactly, but listen to the right people, get advice from right people, and hopefully time it in the right time to invest in real estate. Because if you get burnt out, bought it in the peak, and now you're 200,000 underwater, then
it's a long way back.
Exactly.
We're seeing that in Wellington at the moment, right? 30% drop from the peaks. That's like, that can really disrupt and slow down a life. And I'm being careful of my words there, because I know there'll be some listeners that are in that position. But I did a podcast recently with somebody in the property space, and they're like, you really need to be thinking about how you're going to claw that equity back, because otherwise it's just outside of your control. And hey, sometimes we can time things poorly in life, but sometimes it can be a catalyst for us to go, you know what, I've learned about this from this lesson now, and now I'm going to do something different. But really confronting for those who probably bought at the wrong time.
I totally agree with you. And it's like, I say, like, advice is like a nose, everybody's got it. They will give you advice, but you're very careful who you get it from. Because when the market is great, and unfortunately, the sales thing is like, people want to sell stuff to make money. It's actually them that's making the money. But you're buying in the peak, you're the ones paying for it. And I hear all these videos and all these podcasts, all these companies that say that now they're giving advice on how to recover from the crap that they sold them. Right? It's like, yeah, it's disappointing. And that's why, it just disappoints me really, that unfortunately a lot of people are ignorant when it comes to finances, and they just take advice from everybody. And I'm like, yeah, just be careful who you get advice from.
Yeah, something that I'll see is, how did I know interest rates were going to go up? Or I thought that they could go up, but not this high. Or how was I to know that house prices were going to go down? And I think, when you're in the space, you sort of know about these things and that things do go in cycles. So you see where people are coming from. But yeah, it's a very low level of understanding of a market or an economy to go into with that simple of a mindset. And I don't mean to offend anyone by that, but if that is your level of education, start with the education first. Learn a bit more. Like I always say, get curious. Like, ask questions of the people who are telling you things. Even if they're massively into Bitcoin. Hey, mate, what's the percentage of your net worth that's tied up in Bitcoin? Like, ask some questions. Don't just go, oh, do you think I should buy some too?
100%.
And whatever it is, have a look at how.
And how long you been invested in Bitcoin? Like, you've been investing it now, or have you owned it for 20 years or 5 years or 10 years, however long it's been around? So getting advice from right people, that's the only thing I suggest. Obviously doing your own research.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, everybody gives you advice, but do your own research. Like you see some great books. There's some great podcasts, like your podcast they should listen to, and in our podcast, because the reality is we didn't get nothing from it. But we like to tell the truth, and yeah, that's where our values lie.
Yeah, in my own journey, I've gone through, trying to find the information that I want to find to then allow me to speed up my decision to now doing that, but then going and finding the reverse. So it might be, I invest in Tesla stocks and I'm like, show me some content on why this is a dumb idea. And I'll test both sides of it. And then I go, okay, like now you can't say, oh, I didn't think about that because I got that information. So then I lean into my decision even further of really owning it, even if it does go wrong.
Absolutely. It's like, curiosity, like, little kids are great at that. They ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Why? But over time, we take the curiosity out of the kids. Now they can't ask questions. The school system is great with that. Put your hand down. If you want to ask a question, put your hand up, right? I think we should be more like little kids. Ask more questions.
Nice.
Too many of us signed up to a KiwiSaver plan without much thought. And signing up is great, but if you've never got advice before, you could be missing out. Your KiwiSaver account could become one of your biggest assets over your lifetime. That's why getting expert advice early and ensuring you're in the right fund is so worthwhile. Generate have a team of KiwiSaver advisors available to help. Head to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no obligation meeting. They can even come to you. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
So you have the 5 variables that you often talk about. Do you want to take the listeners through what those are for those who may not have come across your content before? And kind of, for me, it feels like the principal approach to how you look at everything from, coming up 20 years in this industry.
Yeah. So back in the days, a little while back, I wasn't interested in taxes and government, or I was like, who cares? I just control my own destiny, which is true to a certain part. As soon as you start a business, Now you know all these things impact your business so much. If it's the policies these goddamn politicians bring in, if it is taxes and all those things. So I dug into it like you are, like, studied every single thing. And then I found that these 5 variables that controls everything. So if you know the 5 variables, like, you don't need to listen to me to give you predictions. So the 5 variables, first one is the median house price. And what is it increasing by? We can dig into them if you like. The second thing is the supply of inventory, the demand, and then you've got the interest rate, the mortgage rate fluctuation, and then you got affordability, which is unemployment rate and inflation. If you look at those 5 things, you know really what the economy is going to be like.
So median wage, median price, sorry.
Median house price. We can put our 5 variables. I think it would be nice to share it with the team here.
Yeah.
And so median house price. So how much median house price increases by?
Yeah.
And it needs to be healthier, 2 to 4%. If it's anything over that, in particular, if it's double digit, we're screaming for danger.
Yes.
Because we're coming off the cliff. Exactly what happened at 2020, 2021, and back at when we look at GFC.
Yeah. So you would see house prices increasing by 8%, say, and you would go, warning sign.
Exactly.
Okay. So
1 year I can live with.
Yeah.
But if it's happening over and over again, I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It has to come back.
And a lot of the time, especially because wages for the general population won't be keeping up with that. And
That's exactly the next thing is why the unemployment rate, which we come to, is if the wages usually increase between 1, you're lucky to be 2% a year. So if your wages is increasing only 1%, if you're lucky, and the price of property going up 8 or 10%, right? Or even 5%, then you know that unaffordability is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
The second variable is number of annual sales. How many houses sold compared to the supply of inventory. So the third one is supply of inventory. And then you got mortgage rate fluctuation. You know the market is taking off if the interest rate is 2% or 1%. And you know that the market or the economy is slowing down. If the OCR is high because people are going to put money in the bank rather than spending it.
Yep.
And same as if mortgage rate is high, I can't afford to buy stuff. And the last one is affordability, which is inflation and unemployment rate. At the moment, we are 5.2%. Well, I've got the numbers here, which we can talk through as well. And if you look at those 5 things, Luke, we've been predicting things right just because that I'm not genius. I've just been studying those things very thoroughly.
Well, that would be really powerful for people to learn, because at the start of 2025, I made a video about property predictions from all of the banks for 2025, but it was actually a bit of a gotcha. So I went through each of the banks and says, here's what they're predicting. And they said, before we carry on, that was actually for 2024.
Huh.
And every bank was, like 3, 4, 5, 6, and then even like 16 the year after. I'm thinking, where are they getting these from? And my simple, stupid accounting brain and limited economic study is like, if more people are going to lose their job, how are we going to have 7% property increases?
Thank you. That's smart. Exactly.
That's all I'm like, for me, I'm like, those two things don't really tie together. So then I say, be careful what these predictions are, because for 2025, here's what some of the banks are already predicting. And I've got an article saved so I can make the video in 2026 already. But, one of the big banks just came out the other day and said, we've revised our forecast property growth for 2025 to 0%. And you think, how can an idiot, like I don't even get paid $300,000 to be an economist in a bank, get a bit closer to the reality. But I guess it's regional versus national in terms of some of these things. But what do you think that the economists are basing this on, that they're not keeping it simple or looking at this to get it so far wrong?
Hey, one of the things, the horrible thing is money talks. You gotta understand who's the economist paid by. If they're paid by the bank, they don't care about you. They're selling you mortgages. So you got to understand, it's like there's a bit of evil behind it. Well, I'm not being. It's like, oh, Nathan, you scaring people. When that's not. I'm just telling it how it is.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. An economist, whomever the economist may be, an ANZ economist, I don't want to name anybody. They're all wrong because they paid by the bank. And if you're telling the what I say, as you say, contrary, you didn't get paid. The bank is not going to pay you the $5,000 that you did a report for them, right? The bank, all they're interested in is how they're going to make money. They don't care about you. And every prediction is what they do, and the ones that they release anyways, is the ones going to help them sell mortgages. Look, it's an unfortunate word, and it disappoints me because it's such a selfish word, and I don't want to depress nobody. But that's the word that we live in, unfortunately. Yeah.
So if we go political for a second, just set the scene, and we encourage everybody not to get too wound up by the politician's own name. But if we go, Chris Bishop recently, housing minister, is like, you know what, we need house prices to come down. And they're unaffordable, which is one of the metrics we're having a look at. And I think it's gone from 14 times household income to 10 recently at a national level.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to people. Yeah, that sounds great. Then you've got Luxon, who's kind of gone, oh, look, we want to see some growth because it's good for the economy. And then you've got John Key, who's kind of like the pin-up, politician of probably our era. And he's like, let's be real. New Zealand is a property market. Cut the OCR by 100 basis points. We need property prices going up. Let's get the wealth effect going again. Where do you think we go to from here? It's very evident we've got a very slow, sluggish and negative economy.
Yeah.
Can the New Zealand economy survive without just pumping house prices again to make us think, oh, I'm doing better because I can afford my deck and my spa and my travel now?
Have you heard of this cliff metaphor? We're going towards a cliff, and there's nobody there to save us. If it's John Key, if it is Chris Luxon, or if it is whomever it may be, they're interested in their own self-interest. Like, I'm not a National guy or Labour guy. I'm like, what's the truth? I'm in the middle. I want everybody to succeed. Yeah, I agree. If I own real estate, which I do, I'm getting rich, right? And that's what John Key is interested in, so is Luxon and everybody else. But my kids and grandkids can't afford to buy houses. So it's self-interest more than anything, and for them to win votes. I did a post not too long ago, and I just want to read this post again. I don't want to miss anything. That's why I've written it here.
Yeah.
Now, there was a time in New Zealand not too long ago when family nucleus unit was celebrated. A mother could afford to raise her children at home, and a father could afford to buy a nice home in a safe neighborhood, pay for his children's college, and then retire, knowing his family future was assured. The word was stolen from you and replaced with one where both parents, if they're even still together, have to work just to pay weekly bills. Owning a home is a pipe dream. A new car costs $50,000. University costs 5 times that. Retirement is impossible. Schools teach your kids about sexuality, LGBTQ, and to hate you instead of teaching them to solve mathematical problems and reading. And police kneel to criminals, and politicians defund police and fund gangs instead of arresting them. What fascinates me and boils my blood, it really does, that these crooked politicians and banksters who stole that word from you will look at you in the eye, or dead in the eye, and tell you are simply too stupid to understand why everything now is so much better than what it was. So, back in the days, we could do that. People could buy a nice house, live a beautiful life, but that's stolen from us by these politicians that come up with these stupid policies trying to help you and me. And what concerns me is that not me, because if it was me, like, get the property price to go up, because I'm gaining capital. It's fantastic for me, right? But my kids and the grandkids and people who are trying to get into the property ladder, they never want to own houses, which is a sad story. If I'm a politician or running a government, or I'm the prime minister, I want to make sure my kids and grandkids can live an affordable, good, simple life like we used to, and everybody was happy back then. So, yeah, it's disappointing.
Do you think that part of it is that the millennials in the middle can kind of see this and we think, oh, this isn't great for the next generation and we're going to help them, we're going to be a part of a world with them. The baby boomers, they're a bit closer to death and they know it deep down. They got to protect that pension as well. They've got them wealthy with property, and it's sort of we better dismiss this issue that we've created, especially over the last 25 odd years, and kind of go, it's not that bad, just get on with it. But they can't see what you've just laid out, and that's very tough to try and get some of these older people to understand the level of debt in the system, where to the point where you've got people who aren't educated because they're not interested and they just want to live their life saying, well, I'll never own a home, so I will get buy now, pay later. I will get a credit card. These are great inventions for me. There's no point saving for retirement anyway, because they don't value money at all because we've crushed it so much.
Yeah. So that cliff metaphor, coming back to that, right? By the time we get to the cliff, these guys will be gone, right? It's our kids and the grandkids going to come off the cliff. So we need to look at that. Somebody needs to come and say, save these kids and the grandkids from falling through over the cliff. For them to bring this back to the house. Like, Chris Bishop had this great thing of 3 to 5 times household income. Yeah, I was all for it. Like, see, it was 14 times. It's unbelievable. Like, New Zealand is one of the most unaffordable countries to own real estate in. And to be frank, that's what a politician should do. And actually brainwash people once again, because that's what I'm doing. It may not pay now, it might not give me votes now, but I'm trying to save your kids and the grandkids.
See, I think they do try to do that, but when they get in, they don't actually do it. So I can see a video that I have saved of Jacinda Ardern saying to Bill English, who's salivated over in New Zealand, and she's saying, I will not accept that our nurses cannot afford homes in this country and that our teachers cannot get on the property ladder. Paraphrasing a bit there. And, if I'm a teacher or a nurse, I'm like, yeah, that's my person. And then she gets in and I'm going, man, what happened? Like, did I get tricked? Did I get fooled? What happened? And one thing that I learned some time ago and I keep coming back to is, and it's very cynical, but someone said to me many years ago, Luke, the number one job of a politician, and I'm thinking, here we go, is to make my life better, is to get re-elected. And I'm like, what? No, they've got all these things they need to solve. And they're like, mate, you are naive. You will come to learn that they need to get re-elected next time. That's their job. And once you learn something like that, it's very hard to unlearn. And I'm not, like, I'd speak to some of the politicians, I get on with them, some of them well, and I know a lot of them are good intentioned, but at the end of the day, you're campaigning again 3 years later to go, I need to keep my job and I need to keep this going. And I think we've told a lot of people we don't want high house prices, but the majority of people do want them gradually increasing because that's what we've pinned our wealth to, and so it's very hard for us to let go of some of that. And if the politicians can't keep that going, they know that they won't get re-elected, because basically a lot of the data suggests that if property market's going down, the political team get flipped out, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's self-interest. The voters are like, I want more. So I wonder if we'll get to a point where the self-interest flips to we need to protect the younger and property versus I need to protect my own wealth.
All those noble purposes are great to get you elected, right? It's like, yeah, I'm going to help the nurses, I'm going to help the teachers. And that's a great campaign that Labour are pretty good at, winning the low and middle class votes. Unfortunately, what happened when they come in, that's the demographic they actually destroy real bad. Look at what happened when Labour came into. It's nice to have these conversations. Like I said, I'm not national or Labour. I'm like, how we can make this country better, right? The solution would be somebody needs to come in And once again, I come from a very humble beginning, and like, you know, my part of the family is like, when I talk to dad about this, he's very left wing, like he's a Labour guy.
Same.
Right.
We've had Helen Clark on the family wall
There you
with
go.
Dad. You know, that's the holy grail. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll let you carry on.
I think the solution would be somebody needs to come in that don't need the government money. Like, prime example, what happened in America, Trump. The guy doesn't need nobody's money, right? He can tell the pharmaceuticals where to go. He's selling all the people that give him to fund their or donate. He doesn't need people's donation to be able to get re-elected. So he's not interested in that. We need somebody who's an actual patriot, who loves their country, and doesn't need the money to get re-elected again, because that's what they're interested in, like you just said. It's like, yeah, all these noble purposes are fantastic, but tell me how you're actually gonna help the next generation after that. Oh, you know what? 20 years ago, I'm an immigrant myself. 28 years ago when we came here, it was cool. Everything was fantastic. Like, I'm telling you, like, we were in a way better place than what we are now. But they told us this lie that, yeah, no, you're stupid, you don't know. We're in a way better place than what we were back in the days. The solution will be exactly that. Somebody who's not driven by getting re-elected and want to make the world, or New Zealand for us, a better place, and also it needs to have a bit of a charisma to be able to tell people, sell that dream to people, because we got to brainwash this whole society, because the whole society has been brainwashed. The Labour's going to do this for you, and the National's going to do this for you. We're heading toward a cliff.
Ugly. Most Kiwi don't have a financial plan. They have a she'll be right, mate attitude. Amy from Leverage is helping KTC listeners change that. If you're needing direction, clarity, or wondering what your next financial move should be, then book a call with Amy or download her free DIY financial plan to freedom. To do that, visit financialplan.co.nz.
Well, I'll ask you two questions then, and they might tie in together. This is a gnarly one. It's 2026. We're in November. Who's won the election?
I think National will win it. I think because they've been doing some good stuff. They've been handed over a disaster of an economy. So they're doing some good stuff to make us a little bit better, not a whole lot. But I think we need to have somebody like that's not National or Labour come in and fix the country, in my opinion.
So a new person in one of those parties, or maybe not?
I like what Seymour has got to say.
Yeah.
Limited government, small tax, so that incentivize business owners, because business owners, you might say, oh, these are capitalists, they like, they make all the money, but they actually create jobs for people. We need to get people to start these businesses, because that's what's going to get our economy going. You might say that, no, I'm the labourer. It's fantastic. But if those businesses are not there is no labour for you to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. People often say, oh, not everyone can be a business owner. And I say, well, yeah, not everyone can be an employee.
Sure.
This is what makes the whole thing beautiful. We need to foster this. And I guess if I remove David, Luxon, Jacinda, etc., I go, Kiwi people haven't been taught enough to be entrepreneurial and go-getter and to transact and make money. Very easy for us to say when you have been in business for as long as you and myself, and you have to learn about it. Otherwise, you're guaranteed to fail. But there are hundreds of thousands of Kiwi people that would probably like to be making a few extra dollars that have been told, oh, just apply for another job, get a pay rise. That's not for everybody, and I think we've let those people down. And what's been really incredible for me to see as part of the Keep the Change journey is so many people having the courage to go, oh, well, I made another 10 grand this year, mowing lawns or doing some online tutoring, etc. And then they're getting back in control of their life and their income, or just getting control of their thinking that, oh, I am in control. And some of those people, a small percentage, are then off on their journey and then they're hiring people. They are pricing things correctly and really making it happen. So I think we've got a big wave of that to come, because I do think that some people will just get frustrated by property and the market and just go, that's probably not going to happen fast enough for me. I've learned over this last 5 years I'm out of control of it. So let's get into an income generating skill that I am in control of. Again, it'll only be a small subsection of the country, but I think it will be exciting to watch play out.
I think so. I mean, even if it's like, when I was working for somebody else, I said, like, get this mentality of, going work 9 to 5. I encourage my guys here. It's like, because you might think I'm not watching. As a business owner, I'm watching. If you're working long hours, the next promotion, who's going to get the next promotion? I'm not just saying this because I want more people to work longer than they do. And we got great people here. But I'm encouraging people, like, I'll work my back off. Like, I started from nothing. My grandma used to say, Luke, she would say, and I always say this to people, that you cut the log, let it dry, put it in the fire, light the fire, and then you can receive the heat.
Ah, nice.
So I'm encouraging people to work hard. And that's how it works. Stop relying on the government because they're not going to help you. Stop relying on your employer. Stop relying on your parents to help you. Make your own luck.
Yeah. And we live in a country where we are actually so capable, many of us, we're just not operating at our capability, I believe.
I'm the product of this country, man. I love New Zealand. I was born in Afghanistan, in Middle East, in third world country, and I come here, capitalist society and democratic society. I love it because you can make your own journey. You can build your own wealth if you really want it. It's going to be hard work, but back in Afghanistan or wherever other country people come from, we don't get these opportunities. Well, we live in the most amazing country on the planet, so we should work hard and make our own destiny come true because we can.
And to further to that, what can Kiwi people learn from immigrants like that attitude? Because I was speaking on stage the other day, and an immigrant said to me, in day 3 in New Zealand, I could barely speak English. I go to the WINS office to find out how to get a job, and they said, fill this form out and you'll start getting money. And he's like, no, job. I want job. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I've heard other immigrants say to me in Ubers, no, I don't want welfare. I want to work. That's what I've been told. And he was asking me, what is it that some Kiwi people don't want to work or can't see the opportunity you have in your own country?
Yeah.
And my answer was that when he came here, all he could see was opportunity. When you're born here, you look at other people, and if you've got a good enough mindset, you're like, oh, well done. But you don't realize, like, that could be me.
Yeah.
I could be doing that. We're just like, oh, okay. Or we go, that could never be me. That person's probably an asshole.
Yeah.
That's not for me. So how do immigrants look at New Zealand differently, do you think, from what you've seen? You've got lived experience.
I did a post a little while back once again. It's called Immigrant Age. And I talk about what makes the way immigrants think, right? We don't get these opportunities. And welfare, there's a saying, I'll quote it. It says that give a weak man cheap entertainment, and he or she will throw his dream and ambitions out the window. And that's what welfare is doing to people. So get off welfare, if you're on welfare, whomever that may be, right? And work hard because there's that much opportunities here. So the immigrants, when they come in here, and I've got my thoughts on immigrants, so we can talk about that if you like. When they come in here, they see opportunities galore. And they're like, wow, it's a beautiful country. I can live a comfortable life. Nobody's going to come to my house and rob me. If I've got too much money, if I've got no money, I'm starving. So they see these opportunities like, yeah, well, if I can't make it in this country, I'm never going to make it anywhere else. So love a capitalist country, and a democracy that we live in. So I'm telling you, man, New Zealand is like, it's a dream.
Yeah. I'm trying to remind people. I was driving the other day. I saw 2 tradies and 2 utes, and we're driving towards Takapuna, one of the most beautiful places in the country. and these guys are like weaving towards each other. I'm thinking, boys, what are you doing? Like, have some gratitude. Don't fight with that guy in the lane next to you. What good is going to come of this?
Right.
But I think that's where we are, especially in Auckland. We're so angry and frustrated, and the economy's so grindy that we're failing to see the opportunity and the beauty of what it is that we do have. And I think, to condense it down, I just think it always comes back to cost of living, because everywhere you look, you're being told butter, rates, insurance.
Yeah.
And then we're working harder, which we both big proponents of and have learnt can help. But when you work harder, but then you're not getting as much, you have a double frustration, right? Especially when you don't understand what's happening underneath there.
I know it's difficult. I really appreciate it. I understand when these politicians are not helping at all. It's like, that cliff. Like, we're heading towards the cliff and nobody's there to help us, right? It's difficult. And once again, when it comes to immigrant side of things, these politicians bringing immigrants in to get more votes, in particular the left hand, because most of the immigrants coming here, they vote left. They do. Like, there was research done, about 95% of them would vote left. So what I'd say, once again, coming back to the politicians, is they need to stop importing people, immigrants. They need to take care of our own 6 million people that's here. Once they take care of that, just like Trump is doing in America, take care of our own citizens, then we can look elsewhere, right? But voting is what they're interested in, though.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a controversial one, which we won't go too far deep into.
But I can speak about it because I'm an immigrant, right? I can only say it. I know it's controversial. Some people won't like it if our own Kiwis say it. But I'm an immigrant. I'm saying this.
Yeah.
That we need to stop bringing people in and take care of our own people that's here, and then we go elsewhere.
So let's go back to those variables and the cycle as such. Where do you see us in the overall property cycle that you talk about and that you would have seen over this last 2 decades in studying real estate?
Yeah. We did, in our past videos, we see towards end of 2025 and early first quarter of 2026 will be the bottom or coming out of the bottom. It's very hard to predict exactly the bottom, but I like to think from the things that I'm seeing, from the numbers, that 5 variables, I like to think it's probably like we've either hit the bottom already, we're slowly coming out of it, or we are at the bottom. And remember though, we don't bounce off the bottom like this. It takes time to stabilize and recover and come back to what I call a healthy real estate growth, 2 to 4 times 4%.
So if we go through some of those variables at a national level, just at a very high level, I may get some of these wrong, but if we think about median value, it's still like, well, let's go unaffordability. Unaffordability is probably the easy one. That's still, properties are still too unaffordable. Unemployment is high. You've got supply ready to come online from some of these people who still have been building, but you've had consents and stuff like that slow down as well. So you can kind of see it slowly changing, but there's still some headwinds for property.
Sure. So those things, the indication that you're giving me is it tells me that it takes a little while to stabilize. And then the healthy growth starts. Because I've said this analogy a bunch of times in our podcast, Luke, that we've been hit by this hard, big baseball bat. And I'm not sure if you've been hit by a baseball bat. Hopefully you haven't. But if you get hit by a baseball bat or by a punch, you're still dizzy recovering, right? That's at a stage we are in. And it will take a little while for us to like, okay, now I can start walking straight.
Yeah.
And the market will kind of slowly come back. So I like to think that that's what the stabilization will take a little while because of those numbers that you've given me.
Well, I come up with these 2 words, slump scars. Now, what I mean by this is that in this slump of property and the economy, that we've stayed here for so long, that I don't think as a nation we're talking about the scarring that's happening through this slump, where people on the other side are going to be like, I don't know if I believe the bank economist anymore. I don't know if I believe Uncle Remus telling me you've got to get in, you're going to miss out. And you sort of see this where FOMO's not very high.
Sure.
You see this where people go, my mortgage interest is coming down, but I'm going to pay my mortgage off a bit faster because I've learned about this. You see this with people going, okay, great that inflation's come down, but it still sucks.
Sure.
And also, how much are my rates going to go up? So I think we've got some scarring that'll take time to play out as well.
And I think it makes that's a human nature, right? That when you're born, then you're very careful about things, right? So I do still suggest be cautious, be very, very slow, or be very mindful and be very careful, because yes, you're right. It's like, we've come off the peak, we've been burnt a bunch of times, we got hit by this baseball bat, like, we've maybe lost our jobs and da-da-da-da. But slowly gather your saving and start looking at investments wherever you may want to invest. Or if you've got a house already, the interest rate is low now, don't just pay interest alone, maybe pay a little bit of principal and interest, because it was 7% or 6%. Now it's a 4.75 last time I checked. So that's what I'm suggesting. Be very careful.
Yeah.
But still do not look, because that's the time to buy. I was telling you before to avoid buying in the peak. But the right time is to buy at the bottom, so hopefully things will recover a lot quicker than, the cycle we talk about.
Yeah.
The winter, summer, fall and spring. This will be winter, or if not pretty close to winter. We might be just slowly stabilizing from winter.
One thing that I think we're not talking enough about too is that, and I don't just mean us, I mean nationally, is that everyone's now getting excited again about the OCR coming down, because we've learnt about that and we know who Adrian Orr was and we've got a little bit of education. But if you ask most people, hey mate, tell me what the official cash rate was in 2019, they would probably assume, that it was higher, but it's actually going to be lower than what the Reserve Bank are saying that we're going to get down to, So the economy pre the big bubbly pandemic, etc., that has been really hard to look through, was starting to slow down and was a little bit tricky. And interest rates were probably, a little bit lower than we were going to. So
Sure.
You could make a case that they're going to have to keep chopping and chopping, because this whole thing is actually headed in the wrong direction.
The mortgage rate fluctuation is one of our variables, which I'm going to talk about it now, because we're going to talk about 5 variables, quick summary to wrap up this video. The mortgage fluctuation is very important to watch that. The lever that they play with, the government and the Reserve Bank, is mortgage fluctuation. So the OCR, the reason they make the official cash rate higher is because they don't want people to spend money. They want to put it in the bank, right? So if I'm getting 5% in the bank, why am I investing it, putting it somewhere else, right? So they encourage people to put money in the bank because the economy is pumping. It's crazy busy, right? And they slowly, because the interest rate was so low and the economy went crazy, now they're putting the OCR up so to encourage people to put money in the bank rather than spending it. On the other hand, they lower the OCR, or the official cash rate / interest rate, is for people because the economy is bad. We want people to start investing and put money in the economy. And that's what you look at it now. That's what they're doing, because the economy is so bad. The baseball bat hit us so hard. Now we're recovering. So people they want to make sure they've got this incentive. So they say, okay, right, now you can start investing because the money is cheap to borrow, and you don't get much return in the bank. So for the wealthy, to encourage wealthy to start spending money, they drop the OCR rate. And for other people to start buying stuff, they drop the interest rate or credit card rate so they can start spending money to get the economy going.
A couple of quick fire things to wrap us up then. Do you think that we truly own our properties, or are we now moving into a time where we're realizing, sheesh, even though I may pay the mortgage on this, I'm worried about rates, insurance, and maybe this whole, I own my own property thing is, again, a little bit of a brainwash where the council and the government and the insurers have still got their hold on us, being like, well done believing that. However, cop this, another 23% increase in your insurance.
Yeah, that's so good question, because we did a video on that the dream, the Kiwi dream that they sold us some 20, 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that the product that the bank sold us between us borrowing the money from the bank was the Kiwi dream, buy real estate, right? So for us to borrow money from this, because they couldn't just give us money, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, now it's like $1 million or whatever. So they put this product in between us and the bank called real estate. So you buy it, and now you pay interest for the rest of your life, and they're making money, right? So no, we don't own our properties. My suggestion is the best way to get rich, to get wealthy, and build regeneration wealth is to borrow money from the banks. Number one, you got to be able to borrow money, so you work hard, make sure you've got your reserve filled, and then borrow money from the bank, and then rent the property out to build wealth. So no, you don't own it. The banks own it, but you can use banks' money to get rich or get the bank rich.
And lastly, are you excited about the future of New Zealand? Are you nervous about it, or are you pessimistic?
Yeah, I'm an optimist kind of guy. Though it's very hard to get me pessimistic. Regardless of what's happening, everything that I've said, you gotta watch it, and you gotta be careful. But in a country that we live in, like I'm telling you, it's a capitalist country. It's democracy. If we don't like a government, we can change it. If we don't like neither of these parties, hopefully the new party is going to be created. But we're in the most beautiful country on the planet. Our destiny is in our own hands. So the future looks bright as we say it.
Well, let's hope so. I'm with you, and I think we've got some good things as a tailwind. They'll take a while to come on board. I do think as well we're in a mental slump, and we've got that scarring that I talk about, but people are just beaten up by this economy.
Yeah.
We'll wake up one day and we won't even realize that we've stopped thinking about these things that we were thinking about a year ago, that we were thinking about the year before, and go, oh, that's right. We've just moved on. And I think as soon as that starts to happen, we'll start going in the right direction as well. Again, I don't know if it's going to be a politician that does it for us, but it'll be a moment, and we'll be able to spot it looking back. But thank you for your time today. I know you're a very busy man, and we've probably gone over time, but thank you for hosting me as well.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming from Auckland. All the best for your personal business, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Brilliant. Great conversation today with Nathan from Nathan Najib Real Estate. I found a couple of videos from their YouTube channel that I thought may be of interest to you. They definitely were for me, and that's probably how we've come to start chatting. But one of the first ones of those to check out is Proven Guide to 2025 NZ House Prices, Best Time to Buy, Sell and Invest 2025. In this video, Nathan goes through some of the different variables that we were talking about through this podcast, and it might help you understand them in a bit more detail. We'll link that below. Now, the second one that you might want to check out is, can you buy a home on 120k salary in New Zealand 2025? Because in this, they start breaking down some of the numbers to help you get closer to your goal if it is to buy a property. I know a lot of the things that we talked about throughout this podcast could come across as a little bit doom and gloom, and that's probably just the nature of being a bit more realistic about some of these topics, rather than just telling everybody that it's all rosy and that it's simple and that you should just get on the property ladder as quick as possible. Nathan's big on taking action and taking responsibility and making sure that you're getting the right advice and looking for a bit of truth, and also being curious before making these large financial decisions. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you on the next one.